Hello, my friends. Welcome in. We're going to be talking about Fantasy Premier League today and a league I'm running with my community members that I would love for you to join. In fact, the link or the code is right there. The link will actually be in the description down there. You have until I think it's 1:30 UK time tomorrow to go ahead and get your team set up, your transfer set up. Pick your team for the first game week because there is that early kickoff on Friday with Brentford and Arsenal kind of kicking off the season. Let's go talk about it. Thanks for watching. All right, as we get started here with the FPL season for 21-22, I want to explain the beanie and the hoodie I've got on that says water changes everything. So this is something I'm trying to do with my community. I'm going to be mentioning a charity more often this entire FM22 and in the FPL season. I've talked about this before. I'm a really big fan of the organization called Charity Water. I actually just read this past summer their founder's book called Thirst, and it essentially, the whole organization's goal is to eliminate the water crisis in the world. There's about, give or take, 700 million people that lack access to clean water, which, if you know anything about the human body, you know that you have to have water within 3 days. So they're drinking terrible water. A lot of times I've got a jerry can here. I'm actually going to grab it. So this is kind of like their logo. If you can see that, it's a jerry can, which is often used to carry diesel fuel and stuff like that. And when the founder of the charity, Scott Harrison, spent some time on a Mercy ship, so there's an organization called Mercy Ships that does free surgeries and healthcare, in off the coast of Africa. They park this giant former cruise ship, right, and do that. He was a photographer with them as he was trying to get his life together, and was just absolutely appalled at some of the conditions. And the doctors and nurses he talked to were like, half the stuff we see would be solved if they had clean water. And he's like, well, why is anybody doing anything about that? And so he started this charity. What's interesting about the charity, and I know this is going long, so thanks for sticking with me, is they have essentially two types of donors. They have your ultra wealthy elite people that essentially donate to cover the charity's operating costs, right? So their rent, their salaries, their technology. They even cover credit card fees for people who aren't those elite people that donate money. So what that means is, for the rest of us, like you and me, if you give $1, 100% of that dollar actually goes to the field and is utilized on those projects. So it's essentially, they still have the same overhead and stuff like that other organizations have, right? Where it's probably 15, 18, 20% of, the overall money donated to the organization is chewed up in those administrative costs. But I love the model because it makes it seem more impactful. If I go start a campaign, we're going to raise $1,000, 100% of that $1,000 is actually going to go to the field. I'm a huge fan of the charity. I got some of their gear. This is actually my second hoodie. The first hoodie I have is one of the softest pieces of material I've ever put on my body. And what I said last year with FPL is that I would donate to Charity Water in the name of whoever won the league. And that person I'm going to reveal to you now is Rob Marshall, at Twitter, Rob Marshall 1969, member of the community. Scratch my Pulisic, or Pulisic is the play, yeah. With 2,415 points. As you can see there, I came in fourth place. I'm by no means an FPL expert, but Rob, I will be donating in your name from my business account. So thanks for playing. So this year it's going to be the same thing. If you play, I'll throw in a 10 or a 20 depending on how my Patreon income and YouTube income is going towards that, just as a little bit of competitiveness. So if you're interested in joining the league, the link is going to be in the description below for you to auto join and join the competition and see how you do. I'll say the competition from me, not too fierce. This is my history over the last few years, as I haven't been playing very long, obviously, just getting into this. Last year, my best finish ever though, 721,000. So my goal this year is to break into the top 500,000, which I think is going to be a challenge. But just like anything else, if you try and pay attention to it, you watch some videos from other creators and stuff like that, maybe you pick some stuff up. And, it's also important that you pay attention and you don't forget to swap players out. Those deadlines when there's that Friday kickoff, early Saturday kickoff, something like that. Gotta watch those. Somebody watching those. So, with that being said, my friends, you've already seen kind of the team. I just want to walk through why I've gone with the players I've gone with, and kind of what my strategy is going to be for this year. I don't think like I'm giving anything away in terms of competition because, again, you just saw 700,000th player in the world. Not a high bar for you to be overcoming, and you probably have a better team than I do. But here's what I was looking at. A couple of the videos I've seen from other creators comes down to you never get a really expensive goalkeeper, okay? That just, generally speaking, you're banking a lot on clean sheets, and even the really good keepers give up goals, right? So Sanchez apparently is like the pick of the professional, which I didn't even think was a thing, professional FPL players playing for Brighton, gonna play a lot, 101 points, is gonna have a lot of shots coming his way, so you're not really anticipating banking on those clean sheets, but you're banking on, saves. He had 66 saves last season. He's cheap. I also picked up Fraser Forster here from Southampton. I don't even know if he's gonna play, but he's cheap. So that's kind of what I'm going for, is to save my budget for the rest of the things. Essentially, like if you look at what you're going to leave on your bench, I think my biggest lesson from last year is like, it's much better for your starting team to be stronger than for you to have like, well, this person on the bench is also pretty decent, so if somebody doesn't play, they'll get subbed in. Like, that's a poor choice. So that's kind of what I'm going with here. The other thing I picked up is a lot of times how FPL rates, like let's just look at Shimikas here, how they rate, fixture difficulty rating. You really have to pay attention to that because it's not super accurate sometimes. Like, West Ham was good last season, but I don't know if I would count them as a 4. And one of the guys I was watching was like, you don't see any 1s. There's never a 1. So really, the ratings are 2 to 5, right? And that I get the 5s, right? You got Man City as a 5. Fair, right? Liverpool is probably a 5. This is a Liverpool player, so let's go check Leeds here. Man City. Okay, maybe not. Maybe Liverpool is a 4. Okay, so Man City's the only 5 right now. But I don't know if I agree with that. Everton's a 4. So like you kind of have to have your own opinion as you go through this thing. All right, so here's why I've gone with who I've gone with. First off, I start with who are the big players that got to be the must-haves, and then how do you fit in from there? And I tried to kind of go with one of defender, midfielder, and striker, or forward, I guess is what FPL calls it. And for me, it's got to be Mo Salah and honestly Bruno Fernandes. Now, some people argue that Fernandes might have a drop-off this season. I think they've improved the team, bringing in Jadon Sancho. Greenwood's going to get better, and I'd love to have Greenwood in my team if I could fit him. But I don't think you could ignore Fernandes taking penalties. Salah has scored a bajillion points every year. Everybody else is going to have him. It's almost like one of those things where unless you're really going against the grain, you're picking up Salah and you're going to captain him most weeks, right? And then I think that, going down, let me scroll down just a little bit so this is a little bit easier to see. All right, so some people have argued on the far side of the screen there that Vardy at some point is going to slow down. Maybe it's this season. But I think Leicester is probably going to finish top 5. Maybe top 6. But they're going to score a lot of points as a team because they're going to be winning games. Okay? They just lost Fofana. I know they've got the new signing come in to replace him. He's going to have to be fitting into the squad and figuring out how they're going to play defense and all that kind of stuff. I just think Jamie Vardy, the last 2 seasons, has given you 29 and 30 combined goals and assists. I almost said golazos. He's given you 29 last year, 30 the year before in what was an insane year, right? But prior to that, 23, prior to that, 22. He's actually gotten better with age. That's insane. Now, they've gotten better as a team and so on and so forth. And I just go, I think he's got at least one more year in him where he's going to be lights out. So I kind of went, okay, I'm going to do Salah, Fernandes, and Vardy, and everybody else therefore has to fit in. All right, when you look at the first game week, I think Kostas Tsimikas, I think you're insane if you don't have him. Andy Robertson is going to miss at least the first 2 games. Okay, if you look at the fixture list, He's going to miss at least Norwich and Burnley. Tsimikas is a dead-on starter for those games, in my opinion. I think we're past the point where James Milner starts at left back for Liverpool. Now, then you got Chelsea, which is going to be a tough game, but I think he's going to play in that game. And then after that, you can either drop him or you can leave him as a bench option, because I do think, especially Robertson with an ankle and the amount of minutes that he's played over the last 2 seasons, including in the Euros or the trying to qualify for the Euros and all that kind of stuff, I just think they're going to manage his minutes a little bit better. And Tsimikas has had an entire season to sit on his rear end. I think it's time to use him. So I think there's a chance his price actually goes up from 4, and then you sell him and you put somebody else in that's going to play more often, at least coming off the bench. But I think when you look at the fixtures, not a bad guy at 4 million to have on your bench, even if that's, starting in week 4 with Leeds. Because you do have this break where Robertson hopefully comes back. Maybe he doesn't get picked up for World Cup qualifying for the first window. He's able to rehab the ankle and get back into it. I think Tsimikas is a fantastic pickup. I think Wan-Bissaka or Luke Shaw, give or take, right? I don't know if they're the same price. Let's actually go take a look at that. Shaw is also 5.5. So it kind of depends on who you think is going to be more involved from an attacking standpoint. Now, Shaw had a goal and 5 assists last season. Wan-Bissaka had 2 goals and 5 assists, but played more minutes. I kind of want to bank on players early on that I think are going to get 90 minutes and not be injury prone. I think that's Wan-Bissaka. Okay, so he comes in. Trent, as much as I love to rail on Trent's decision-making in the Discord, which, by the way, if you're not part of my community, go join the Discord. The link is in the description. I personally think Trent, if you are a Football Manager fan, his decision-making is either a 1 or a 20. It just depends on where you're at in the game. And I'm wondering if he's got, now that they've got Virgil, Gomes, Matip all back, if Trent doesn't get back to that, double-digit assists this year, where they can play with a little more freedom because they're not rotating a new body every single game at that center back position, where he's having to hey, remember how we're playing a back line of 4? Now you can you guys know what we're doing. I'm going to go do my job. So I think he's in. And then I picked up Tierney because he does give that a little bit more of attacking. You've got Ben White at Arsenal as well, but I think Tierney with the goal and the 4 assists last season, again, I don't think Arsenal are going to be world beaters this year, but early on fixtures, you can rotate a little bit around that Man City, even maybe that Chelsea second game. But then the rest of the games, I think, are pretty tasty from an Arsenal standpoint. And then I just was trying to pick up a 4.5 million defender. Connor Cody has played 3,300 minutes at least the last 3 seasons. I know there's a new manager, maybe a new system, whatever for Wolves. I think they've got a decent run of starting games, and all I want out of Cody is him to come on and give me a point as a sub, or 2 points because he's playing the full 90. So I think he's a good bench option. Flushing out the midfield, right? If you're going to go heavy with Salah, Vardy, and Fernandes, that doesn't leave you a lot of money, right? So I went with Antonio actually as an attacking player, because I think Antonio, 15 total returns last season, 14 the year before that. I think West Ham are going to be pretty good this year. They were obviously pretty good last year, but they kind of tailed off. But I just think if Antonio can stay healthy, now they do have I think it's Europa League, right? So it depends on how they're going to kind of tackle that. That could be a little bit of a risk. But with these first 4 games, I was just I just can't ignore Mikel Antonio for the first 4 games. Newcastle, Leicester with a new center back. Again, I don't think Leicester are going to be bad defensively, but you never know how that's going to work when you're bringing in a new center back a week before the season starts. Then Crystal Palace, who I think are in rebuild mode heavily. Southampton, who give up a lot of goals typically. I just think that's a pretty tasty nugget there. Souček, I thought, was a fantastic pickup last season. 12 total goals and assists. Again, same thing. So it's it's a little heavy on the West Ham front, right? One of these guys you're hoping does well. And then we got Brownhill for Burnley, who is really just a 4.5 midfielder. He's going to play most games and give you at least a point. That's kind of what I'm going off there. Burnley also pretty stout defensively, usually. Now, he had 10 clean sheets, so that helps maybe get that 3rd point if he gets a full game and he has to sub on for somebody. And then I picked up Jack Harrison. 18 total goals and assists combined last year. So I know some people are looking at Rafinha, and I'm not saying he's got a great start. He's got Man United. I think that's a tough game. Although, there's a piece of me that thinks Bielsa has had all summer to plan for Manchester United, I kind of wonder if they like at least get a draw, or they'll score some goals. Like, he will have dissected what Man United is going to do. Again, Everton, I don't know if they're for. We kind of don't know. What the players are going to look like with a Rafa Benitez system. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not Ancelotti still there. If it was Ancelotti, I might feel a little bit different, but I still think they would give up some goals. So I don't think that's a 4. I think that's probably a 3. Then you got Burnley. Liverpool, obviously, that's a tough game. But by that point, we'll have an idea how good is Liverpool's defense. Like, is the defense back to being solid, or is it still a little shaky? Then you got Newcastle, West Ham, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Norwich. That is a fantastic run, and I think his value is going to go up. And it was worth it to me because I think Rafinha, if we come up and find Rafinha, is a 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. So I didn't have the budget, or it allowed me to make some other choices, I guess. I guess you could swap in Rafinha for Harrison, same team, and then drop Deeney and pick up a 5.0 striker. But I actually think, I tweeted about this, I think Deeney is a cheeky little pickup. He's going to be your penalty taker. Actually, watch, I had no idea. Ben Foster, Watford backup goalkeeper, okay, is into FPL. He has his own channel, like the cycling goalkeeper, I think is his channel. And he talked about the team, and like, Deeney is going to take their penalties. So you're going to get some return there. I just feel like Troy Deeney, again, this is 2 seasons ago, gave you 12 goals and they got relegated, or 12 goals and assists and they got relegated. But he's just that guy. Like, he's going to go mess with people in the box. They're going to pick up a couple penalties probably. And when they do, he's going to be the guy that takes them. Again, I'm not going to start him, not by any means. I do think Watford are going to be like not so hot, unless Sarr stays with them and is incredible. Right? So there's a chance. I think there's probably like 6 teams that are in the battle for those 3 relegation spots. Obviously, Watford being one of those. But I think you're getting a guy who's a captain of the team, who's going to start games, and is going to pick up the odd penalty here or there. Not a bad guy to have on your bench. So that's kind of where I went. Now, what you have to do is then go like, okay, what happens after, the first game, right? So if we're going to pick the team, this is what I would pick for my team. Sanchez in between the sticks. I'm actually going 4-4-2. I think most people do like 3-5-2 or 4-3-3, something like that. But I think when you got Wan-Bissaka against Leeds, I think you got an option to get some assists there, right? Because Leeds gonna give up some goals. You've got Tsimikas and Trent against Norwich. I think Norwich are going to give up a ton of goals this year. I think that's a fantastic start to the season. And then, even though Tierney's not probably like, hey, first choice, they're playing Brentford. I think that's a good shout. Fernandes against Leeds, Salah against Norwich as the captain, Suchek against Newcastle, Brownhill, even though it's, he's a 4.5 playing against Brighton. I am kind of going, you might as well with Harrison maybe, right? But I do think Newcastle going to struggle a little bit. Vardy against Wolves, always good for some goals. And then Antonio against Newcastle. With these guys coming off the bench, I might actually even put Deeney there because I'm curious how Villa are going to do now that Grealish is gone. I do think, again, I think they're going to be fine. And they've got, they essentially traded Grealish for 3 fantastic signings. Are they going to be together as a team, especially defensively, from an overall structure? We'll have to see. But that's how I'm going with my team. But then you go, okay, if you had to get rid of Tsimikas, what does that do to your team? You got to be thinking ahead with those things. I haven't honestly thought that far ahead past like the first break in the season, because that's kind of where you figure things out and go like, oh, like this team's a lot better or a lot worse than I thought they were. But you can always go find, another 4.0 defender. But I think Tsimikas is probably going to be in my team for a good chunk of the season, unless Robertson comes back and then it's apparent that like Tsimikas is going to get no games. I think Klopp is going to manage Robertson's minutes a little bit better than they did the last 2 seasons. That just makes sense to me. So there you have it, my friends. That's my team, at least as of the time of recording. It's one of those things. You never know. Somebody picks up a knock or something. You panic. You change your mind on something. You swap things out. But that's what I'm doing. But again, if you want to join the league and you want to support, essentially be the person whose name goes on the donation to Charity Water at the end of the season, Join the league using the link below in the description. Thanks again to my patrons, because your support, and YouTube members as well. Your support enables me to be able to kick in 10 or 20 bucks towards charity water. So thanks for your support. Rob, congrats again on winning last year. I'm sorry it took so long to put this together to give you your shout out, but you got it. We put it up there, or put it up there. That's where it was. My friends, hit that like button. Let me know, do you want to see more FPL content throughout the year? Because I think I might put out like a weekly, here's what I'm doing with my team, here's why. And then you can all disagree in the comments and tell me how foolish I am, which is probably true. Again, my goal this year, if I can get to the top 10%, right, or a little bit better than 10%, right? Right now, there's 5 million players. If I can get in the top 500,000, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled, because that'd be my best finish ever. If we get anywhere close to like 300, I'd be absolutely flabbergasted. And I think I'm also going to try and record tonight an episode that'll come out before the kickoff of the Brentford-Arsenal game about my EPL predictions for the season, where I think players, where teams are going to finish. And that maybe, dictates some of these signings and all that kind of stuff. So just want to kind of walk through that with you. Hopefully you enjoy it. Again, if you want to join, use the link below. We'll see you then. Have a good one.